Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I want to show you how you can recreate an animated opening and closing door inside of your game using my asset, which I will be providing in the description. So basically the idea here is that there is a zone where the door will automatically open as long as it is being occupied by a box collider object, probably your character. And when you leave that zone, or when all objects have left that zone, it'll go ahead and close, allowing you to have an easily opening and closing door that also triggers an animation. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you how to import and use the asset in your own project. So if you go up to the assets menu and you hit import package custom package, you're going to want to find the Unity package file that you downloaded and open that up. This is going to have some default stuff you can use, including the sprite for the wooden door, including the animation there, the 3 scripts that are attached to that door, the prefab for the door, a couple sound effects which you can replace if you want, and then the animation controllers and animations which actually allow the door to open and close on demand. So you go ahead and import all of those in. If you want as well, we have the scene that we're about to recreate right here called doorscene.unity, and you can use that as a testing file. So let's go ahead and import all of this into our project, and I'll go ahead and reload the scene. Okay, so this setup is really simple. You can see that we have a collider surrounding this door. That collider is to allow or prevent the player or other characters to move through the door when it's closed and to let them through when it's open. And then over here we have a secondary trigger zone, and this trigger zone is what allows the door to know whether the space is occupied or not and whether it should be open or closed. So if we take a look down here, we can see there is an audio source attached to it. Note that there's no audio clip currently because the audio clip we want to play is actually set in the animation itself. I'll show you that in a minute. We have an animator, of course, so that the sprite can change. So occupied zone shows 3 events here. So these are Unity events, and you're able to attach event triggers here. So for instance, we have animator set bool, set animation bool, occurring when the zone is occupied, and when all occupants have left, we make it so that the boolean has occupant is set to false. And then if we look down here, we can see that animator set boolean script. The reason this is necessary is that Unity events like these up here by default cannot pass into parameters. So we need to create an extra function because the default animator function set bool requires 2 parameters, so you can't use that directly here with a default Unity event. So this just exposes that and reduces it to 1 parameter. Instead, we have the Boolean name set ahead of time, so has occupant, and then we just set it to true or set it to false, and that's what allows the animator to know whether a character is standing here or not. And then play audio source. This script exposes the audio source.play method with a clip passed in to the animator. So to understand all of that better, it'll probably help if we go ahead and open up the animation window and the animator window. So in animation, there's 2 animations attached to this door, and you can, and I would recommend you do override it if you want to change the sprite. So I have my door here, and you're welcome to use that if you'd like. Basically, it's got 4 frames. So when it's opening, it's going from the closed state to the open state. It will look kind of like this. And then when it's already open and trying to close, the animation will look like this, where it goes from the sideways closed view to all the... And then we have the close animation, where it will go from being open to closed. Now, aside from the sprite changing, there's also this box collider enabled thing. So it's box collider enabled, and it's a Boolean checkbox. So what this is triggering is for the first box collider set in the object, which is this non-trigger box collider, the one that actually has real collisions happening. If the door is open, as you can see here, it is in frame 1, then that box collider is not enabled, and a character will be able to pass through it normally, as you saw at the start of this video. However, if the door is closed, then we want that box collider to be enabled. And that's how you can change whether a door will allow the character to pass through or not, regardless of the door still actually being there as an existing game object. So at both of these animations, you also see at the top, there is a animation event here. So an animation event is where you have some function run when a frame is triggered. So when the close animation starts, it's going to play this audio clip. In this case, it's this door close 3 .wav file, I believe. It's a sound effect anyway. And it will play that at this object because it's using the audio source of the door. Likewise, with inside door open, we can see here that it is playing the door open 01 sound effect. But if you want to change these audio clips to whatever door opening and closing sound effects, then you can just click over here and select the audio clip from your library of sound effects. Likewise, to change the sprite, you just drag in your sprites into these positions here. You can increase the number of frames if you want to. So with that aside, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual animator. So we can see that by default it's in the idle state, which is actually just closed. But the first time it's closed, we don't want it to play any animation. I'm not 100% sure if that's actually necessary, but anyway, it starts closed, and then from being closed, it can only go to the open state. So this happens when has occupant is set to true, and that will put it in the open state. And then from open, it can only transfer into the closed state if has occupant is false. And from closed, it can transfer into open if has occupant is true. So you can see how once it's open, it can cycle into closed, and once it's closed, it can cycle into open. And that's how you have the door keep opening and closing whenever a character steps on or steps off of the point. So to show how it is one more time, I'm using this game object here. There's no movement script attached to it, so I'm going to move it manually. Obviously, if you use a movable character and you have a player movement script attached, all you need to do is have that player move over here. Make sure it has some kind of collider 2D not set to trigger, and that it has a rigid body. Whether that's dynamic or kinematic is up to you. So with your player game object, or whatever you want to pass through the door, once it reaches that point, it's going to play the open animation, and once it steps off, it is allowed to transfer back into the closed state, and we can go back on to have it open. We can pass through it, come out the other side for it to closed, and hopefully you guys get the idea. So that's pretty much all there is to using this basic template inside of your game. If you are going to be doing pixel art, I will point out there's one extra thing inside of this project, which is the Pixel Perfect camera. That's the reason it says up here at the top, preview packages are in use. If you want that for a pixel game, which is probably recommended, honestly, you can get that from the package manager. It's actually an official Unity asset. It's just not in its 100% fully released version. It's still a preview package, even though it says it's like version 1.0 and above. So you can see here I have the 2D Pixel Perfect package. You would probably be able to find it in all. Yeah, it would be in all if you don't already have it attached. But that's only if you want the camera to play better with pixel art. Obviously, the script would work whether you do have a pixel art door or it is a hand-painted door. So that's going to be it for my tutorial on how to use this animated door asset. I hope it helps some of you guys out and you can make some cool content with it. So I've been Chris, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my future content.